everybody, it's Wendy and Dave from Be Do Learn Have Live, and on this episode we're going to be talking about the books we are reading, have read right now. So I'm going to start first. I'm going to show, I'm reading Working with the Law by Raymond Holliwell, which I have read before, but it must have been maybe 6 or 7 or 8 months ago, and the content has settled in so much more this time around with the reading and what it means. There's a lot of talk about God in there, which I used to really push back against because I was really not into that sort of thing. But now I understand that God isn't a big guy in the sky. In my opinion, it's more like us. And having just finished another Raymond Aaron course called Mulberry Hill Gang, which actually Dave did in July, and it was just an amazing course. And at the end of the day, I am God, Dave is God, we create our own universe, and this is really what this book's about. So we're talking about God in this particular book. I'm seeing through that now, and it's making much more sense in many ways. So it goes into a lot of spiritual talk, and I'll read one of the things out that I've underlined. Be ever grateful for the very least of things, and the very most will come to you. So it's that sort of thing. It goes through the law of increase, and the law of attraction, and the law of compensation, and all sorts of things like that. And it's a really, really good book. So have you read this one? I think you have.
Yes, because you said I folded
the pages. You should have probably forgotten it.
Yes, I do need to read this one again.
It's really good.
Because I would have read this multiple months ago as well.
Yeah.
This is actually one of the recommended books from Mary Morrissey.
Right, because she actually was one of his students, Raymond Holliwell. She learned from him.
Yeah.
So it's I can see a lot of Mary's teachings coming out of this book too. So it's nice to sort of tie the two together. But it's actually really, really good, and I'm actually enjoying it again for the second time. And as I said, I'm much more over the God thing now, and it's really nicely settling in perfectly.
Now, to add on Wendy's comment about us being gods, this is not by any way, shape or form being an egotistical thing on our parts. It is the acceptance of the fact that as human beings, because we have that intellectual factors as Bob talks about, that if we start looking at words and how things are capitalized, well, I is capitalized in that because I, and I is God because God is also capitalized, and there's a few other variations in there, but essentially because we create our own futures, we create all that is around us. Mm-hmm. In that sense, we are like God for creating, and it doesn't matter which God, because all gods, this is going to be bad. All gods are essentially the same, in the sense that they are a focal point up above of something that creates all that's around us. But in essence, we as human beings are all gods. So we are gods, and you are gods.
Right.
So
Raymond's actually got, I think, another course in December for the Mulberry Hill Gang, which talks about this sort of thing, and it's absolutely jaw-dropping information. It's really, really great course. I'd do it again, and I probably will, actually.
Yes, we potentially might.
Yes. Right,
but anyway, all right, so I have 2 books, and the reason being is I've literally just finished this one, from Robin Sharma, the monk who, I was going to say ate his Ferrari, who sold his Ferrari. We have talked about this book in a prior video, so I'm not going to go into this a whole lot, but this has been my second book for a while, and it's taken me a while to read it just because I've only had a few minutes a day. But there's the sort of 7 steps right at the back here. Master your mind, follow your purpose, practice Kaizen, live with discipline, respect your time, selflessly serve others, and embrace the present. All these are sort of the fundamental points that he works through in this book. And again, I'm not going to go into this, but absolutely awesome, very clearly understood book. Even though it's a story format, it picks up, as we mentioned before, a whole lot of really awesome concepts and explains them in an easy to understandable way in plain English. So
it's also got
really
another
cool
book coming out soon called the 5 a.m. Club, which I want to get, because we get up about 5:15 and I want to just tune up a little bit more.
That's right. So the main one that I am still reading, I'm actually about halfway through. This one is Influence, the Power of Persuasion from Robert
Cialdini.
or that's pronounced multiple different ways. I've heard it lots, but I'm sure Cialdini has probably pronounced it best himself. But I've heard it many different ways. So anyway, this is a best-selling book. It's an absolutely phenomenal book for pretty much any business owner, anybody who wants to work in the environment of selling, of promoting their businesses, promoting themselves. It's good for anybody who wants to read it, who wants to get along and have good conversations that potentially result in something. So in the book here, he's referenced a number of different charities using the processes that he talks about, as well as business organizations. And the issue that I have that he's brought up in the book here is, again, this is great information, awesome for absolutely everybody to know, because from that, we as consumers of anything can understand, well, why is this marketing working? Why do companies promote in this way or that way or whatever else? But obviously the information can also be used unscrupulously and from a more formidable practice of working against someone rather than promoting for the benefit of the individual themselves.
Give us an example then. So the psychology of the power of persuasion. What's one of the ones in there? There's the one about the people coming to the house, right? Like the door-to-door salesman.
The door-to-door salesman. So there's actually a little thing on here. I think I've just finished the section on it about commitment, and it's a really interesting subject. The commitment is strong because socially, as human beings living in society, one of our strongest concepts is commitment. So if I commit to something, if I commit to Wendy that I'm going to buy her flowers every single week for the next year, but, well, maybe.
No.
If I make that commitment and I make it purely out like that, it could be that I could take it away because it's an open commitment, or maybe I'm committing for some particular reason. But if there's, no, it's not a good way of explaining it. But anyway, the idea is, okay, so if I personally come up with that my commitment to Wendy is to buy her flowers, and the intent of doing that is to just have a great relationship with Wendy and do that, then from that commitment that I have said, I've now openly told Wendy that, so she's now expecting these flowers. I have this commitment internally. It says, I must buy flowers every week, and if I don't, I am going to feel terrible because I made this commitment. Now, from a selling standpoint, if Wendy was to come up to me and says, hey Dave, I want you to buy me flowers every week, and I'm going to give you a great big kiss and make you the best dinner ever. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll buy flowers. But because there's a sort of a big reward for me to have an awesome meal made once a week or whatever for buying flowers.
I make an awesome meal every night, not just once a week.
She does. But the point is this. I don't want to go into other examples. But anyway, if there's some big gain for me, then I am committed, but not really, because it's like, oh, well, I'm doing this for the reward. Okay, well, sometimes I just can't be bothered with it, so I'm not going to bother buying her flowers. Now, if Wendy was to say, you know, I really like it if you bought me flowers once a week, and I'll give you a little peck on the cheek, or I'll blow kisses at you when you drive away from me in the mornings. It's not a whole lot for me to kind of go, well, geez, I'm doing this for some obvious gain. It's like, well, she's probably going to blow me kisses anyway, so what does it matter? But if I commit to it, because it's such a small reward, I now have made this commitment, and then I'll carry on doing that. Now the thing is, the next time Wendy wants something else, I've already made a commitment that I'm going to do this. So if she wants a bigger bunch of flowers, well, now I'm committed to kind of buying a big bunch of flowers, because she hasn't said what size until I come back after the first week, and it's like, well, actually, I was expecting a bunch that was 3 times the size of this. You've got, and I'm sitting there going, oh, well, I've internally already bought into the fact that I've committed to buy her some flowers weekly for a kiss and a wave. Now she's demanding that I get this huge big bouquet of flowers every week. Holy cow. Well, I've committed, therefore I have to be obliged. And okay, so that's a bit of a weird example, but it talks about in the book here about selling TVs in stores or buying cars. And some of the ways it can be done is sort of through a bit of a free sample aspect, or we'll come in, we'll ask you a questionnaire, and they'll lock you in on these small little things that you've committed to. So answering surveys was a great one, actually, that Wendy's going to give me this. She's going to sell me a car, but she's going to come out and ask me for a survey. Hey, I want you to tell me what you like in cars. And I'm looking at Wendy going, oh, okay, well, I like sports cars, I like fast cars, I like to drive a pretty lady somewhere special, go out for good times. And then at the end, she's like, oh, well, thank you. Well, our last question here, well, part of my survey is to actually ask if you want to buy a car. Well, it sounds like you are the most amazing person because you sound like you want to do so many good things. Well, I've got the perfect car for you, and you're going to save $10,000 buying this car. But oh, wait, the car is actually $50,000, but I've sort of made the commitment to do the survey, therefore I'm also committed to then come out with the sales approach at the end.
It's a huge commitment.
So it's quite a big commitment. So the idea is that by locking us into very small commitments for us to say yes to a survey, so the people come knocking at the door, they can ask for various things, and if we say no or what have you, then they slam us with something else. That's actually a slightly different tactic, but our commitments allow us to buy big things based on small commitments that we've made. So it's an internal thing, and socially the idea is, and it sort of fits, a lot of these sort of fit together, that if we make a commitment, our integrity, our social standing, as it were, is impacted if we don't live up to our commitments. So if I make a commitment and then I'm just constantly breaking my commitments, in a society, people generally say they're not reliable, don't listen to anything, don't believe anything they've said. And from that's where this whole law of commitments comes in, that gets used in advertising, is you get someone to buy in and all of a sudden they're doing it on their own. They talk about kids with toys and all sorts of things in here.
But it's a good book.
But it's an exceptional book. And they talk about reciprocation and all sorts of other things. So there's a whole whack.
And our son's actually listening to that on audio right now when he's working. So I'm starting to get everybody on board with that too.
Yeah, needless to say, I haven't really done it justice, so hopefully you've understood what I've said.
Pick the book up and have a read, because it's one of the classics. So it could be, this one is a pretty old version, I think. It certainly needs some updating in the respect of social media, because there's nothing in here about social media at all, and that's a huge influence in itself. So that'd be really interesting to see an updated version of that, actually.
Yes, even though this is an updated version. I'm not quite sure when that was originally done, probably in the 90s, but... Anyway, it's an awesome book. We're getting well under time here. We are going to be grabbing new books or secondary books. Certainly I'll be grabbing a secondary book soon. And anyway, pick a book up, read, learn lots. It's fascinating what's out there.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.